You want to just take a picture or do you want to type it in?
I'm just typing it in.
You don't want to take a picture?
Well, I've already committed, so. Hey, our person stuck in the dude. In your great big
Okay, let's go ahead and do some VBA. Ready, set, go. What we're going to do is we're going to do some user forms today. Some good stuff. If we go to, let's see, where are we going to go to? Application exercise, chapter 26. User forms AppX right here. There's a link in here. We're going to download this file. Product form. Here we go. Did I already download this? I did. I'll just open it up. You may have already downloaded it too. If I open up this product form, what do we see? We see a lot of data. One of the benefits, one of the uses of making user forms is that instead of having to zoom out this far to see all the rows of data, right? If we wanted to just examine all this data, we'd have to zoom out to, what is that, 85%? Actually, it's not terrible. It could be worse. But this is hard. It's hard to see. It's hard to come in here and make some changes. What we can do is we can create a user form that allows us to manipulate this data much, much easier. In addition, if we were sharing this with other people who were not really accustomed to data and lists, a user form makes it very, very simple to interact with the data, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to build a user form to allow us that comes into, we can make updates, right? If we wanted to change the department for one of these products, if we wanted to change the manufacturer, if we wanted to change the price or the image or the discount or promotion or the description, we can build a form where we can make these changes much easier rather than straight off the data sheet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up Visual Basic. And you'll notice that there's already a form product in here, FRM product under forms. We're just going to ignore that for now. We're going to go ahead and insert a user form. Which file is this? This is chapter 26 user forms AppX product form. Download this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and insert user form. And this is the user form. So here's the user form. Here's the toolbox that goes along with that. And we are going to build a form. Over on the left is our properties window. I can change the name here. Let's change the name to edit product information. Not a legal name. What? Oh, sorry. I meant the caption. That's funny. The caption is the one that changes the name on the title. Edit product information. There we go. I can come up to the name, and usually there's a common convention in VBA to name your objects with a three-letter or three-character prefix. So in this case, FRM, and that stands for form. FRM, let's do prod, since we already have a product. We'll do FRM prod as basically the code name for this form. Notice again, the caption field is what changes this name up here. Edit product information. When I click on this form, the toolbox bar comes up. If you don't see the toolbox bar, there's a little hammer and a sickle up here. It almost looks like a communism symbol. Not sure what that, I'm not sure why they, I'm not Microsoft. You click on that, this brings up the toolbox. Here's all the controls that we can do to create forms. One of the first things I want to do when I create a form is I want to put on here the product ID. So if we go back to my spreadsheet, the product ID here is in column A. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I like to click and drag. I could also click on it and then come over here and drag my size if I wanted to do that, right? However I wanted to do it. I can click and drag, or I can just click and then drag the label, the distance, the square that I want. In this case, I'm going to rename the label here. And I'm going to use LBL as the prefix, character prefix, because this is a label control. This is just a label. This is not editable by the user, right? This is something they will see, but not edit. So I'll do LBL ID. And that'll be the ID label. And we'll do that. Let's change the border, all kinds of options here in terms of how we want that to look. If we go to the border, we can change the border from none to single. Here's a border style. So let's do a little formatting here. That'll put a little box around the label. Box, it's going to be our product ID, right? If we wanted to, we could change the background. If I come up here to the back color, I can use a system color here, or I can use the palette. I can choose kind of a different background color for that label, for that product ID. And then let's go ahead and center the text here. So let's see, where is center? Text align, close to the bottom. That's going to be text align center. So we'll align that center there. And that's our product label. Next, we'll add a text box. So if I click on the form again, come up here. Here's my text box control. Let's put that text box maybe up here. That works. I'll stretch it out a little bit. This will be the name. So this is going to be column F. So we'll put our product ID here. We'll put our name up here. Maybe a little bit longer. And again, we'll rename this to be TXT is the character prefix, stands for text box. And this is going to be name. And this is one that's editable, right? So this is something that a user will see what the name is once we pull that information in, and they can actually change it. So this is one that's editable. What else do I want to do here? I think that's it for now. And let's add a button in here. So we grab this command button control up here in the toolbox that's got the A and the B together in a box, circle box, circle. I'm gonna click on that, drag that down here. This is going to be our command button. The prefix for this object is going to be CMD. And we'll call that save. This will be our save button. So I'll name this CMD as the prefix, and I'll put save, capital SAVE in there as the name. And then I'll come down to the caption. The caption says command button 1. I'll rename this to save. That way the user sees the word save on that button right there. And that's done through the caption. Another interesting one here is if we click on default, there's a default option here, which this is the default button for the form. You can only have one default button. What this means is this button is executed if you hit enter. So if you're anywhere on the form and you hit enter, this is the default button. It will execute that button for default. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to double click on this save button in the form. Okay, when I double click that save button, it's going to plop me into this. What this is the code view. This is the code behind that button. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, you just double click that form. By the way, there's some buttons up here at the top left to go back to your object and your code. So you can kind of toggle between these two. And all I did was I can do that, or I can double click on this save button here, and it takes me into this sub. This is a sub procedure. Notice that it has the object name here, underscore, and here's an event. This is the click event for this button. So there's a couple things we want to add here. For now, I think what we just want to do is we want to unload this form, which is basically means we're going to close it down. Does that make sense? We're gonna close this form. That's usually what we want. Part of what we want to happen when we click on save is we want to unload this form. Also, I think I mentioned this before. Instead of FRM prod, which is the name of the form, we could also do unload me. And the me there is referring to that form as well. Same thing. Me's kind of nice. Okay, so now let's test this out. Okay, so if I go to the form and I click on play or run or F5, you should see a user form. You just created this user form. How about that? And if you click on save, what should happen? It should disappear. Does that make sense? It should go away. Ready, set, save. Boom. It closed it. Okay, let's do a neighbor check. Neighbor, close that form. Close that form, neighbor. Close it. You could even type something in the name field and then close it. To show up blank? Oh yeah, F5. Yep. If I'm clicking on the form, I hit F5, it should run but you have to be on the form. You have to be in the VBA window with the form selected. Select the form, hit F5, and it should pull up your form. Toolbox is the communist symbol up here. I shouldn't say that. That's probably not appropriate. It's probably not appropriate. There may be a spy. I don't know. No, there's wrench and hammer. Is that what it is? It's not a communist symbol. I'm just teasing. You know, you got to have some humor at some point. Okay, great. Any questions? Team one, we good? That's you guys.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, just a second. Team two, we good? We're getting there. Team three? Is that a Snoop Dogg thing? Is that a... Oh, you have to redo it? You hit save? And it killed. Do you have any form prod in your forms? It's gone? Jared. Wow. Wow. Okay, so if you have to redo it, what we did was we did insert module. We added a label, we added a text box, and we added a command button. We did some formatting with the label. We named the text box txt name. We named the save button cmd save as a command button. We changed the default to true, which means that this is the button that gets executed. You know what? While you're doing that, can I add another button just for fun? I actually kind of like the cancel button because I like to use that over here where it says cancel. There's a cancel option here. And this allows me, if that's selected as true, this allows me to hit escape and to close the window. It's as if I hit the cancel button, just using escape. So that's kind of nice too. So what I'll do is I'll rename my button here to cancel, CMD cancel. I'll put my caption as cancel here. So the user will see the cancel option there. And then again, this cancel option inside the properties box I'm going to mark to true. That's just a way for me to exit the thing, but I'm missing one thing. It doesn't work when I run it because I got to double click it and I got to do the unload exactly. Okay, great. Now, if I click on the form, click F5, click cancel, and we're out. Okay, great. So what we've done so far is we have a product ID label. We don't have the product in there yet, but we have the label. We have the name text, and we have a save button. Oh yeah, sure, the cancel. So if I click on cancel button to select that, notice there's a cancel option over here, and I mark that as true. In the code, I double click cancel, unload me. Unload me. Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna do here's another thing on the save button. So if I go back to actually this is perfect right here. Notice there's two menus at the top here. If I click on the CMD save option on the left and I click on the right menu option in my VBA, all of these are a list of events. And in these events is when VBA can take action, right? VBA will recognize if there's a key down or a key press, if there's an enter, if there's a double click. I can use any of these activities on this object to have VBA fire something, to begin running code, right? So let's have a little fun here. Let's do the mouse move option. If I'm clicking on Command Save over on the left, I've got that selected on the left. Come over to the right and click on mouse move, okay? Let's do something interesting here. I'm going to call the object CMD save, and I am going to say dot left. And what that dot left is going to do is it's going to say how many pixels from the left side of the screen should that button be placed. So the dot left is a geographic assignment. Where on the screen, left and right, where do you want that to be positioned? So I'm going to say, okay, reposition the save button, and it's going to be equals to a random number times the inside width, the width of that button. Okay, so when I run this, what's going to happen? It's going to move it. So if I run my form again and I try to click on the save, what happens?
That's me trying to close an app.
All right.
Actually click it, I mean, you can't close.
You can get close. You have to get, yeah.
Just go to the last and click as you grab.
Now notice what the danger is here. So the way that I did this is that it could potentially go off the screen, right? It could disappear. And then we're in trouble. Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to look at this. Let's go back to the code. What if instead of doing this, I'll leave that up here in a comment. What if we were to do this and say, let's move it so that we can make this so it doesn't go off the screen if we do something like this. Me.inside width in parentheses minus the width. What that's going to do is that's going to prevent it from going off the screen, right? We could also do the same thing if we did cmd save dot top is equal to random, it's our random digit creator, me dot inside height minus the height. So this is going to prevent it from going off of the form. There we go. And if we wanted to be really devious, we could do one more thing. See what you think about this. What does this line do? Doesn't make it permanent. We're saying take the width and take whatever the current width is and subtract 2. So we're going to shrink the button, is what that does. Isn't that terrible? Let me go back to the form and I'll run it. And now the save button is all over the place. And is it getting smaller? Can you tell? Isn't that terrible?
How small can it go? Oh, God. It's getting smaller.
What happens if it disappears? Oh, great. That's true.
Please don't show that to the training.
That's right.
Enter the wrong.
That's what I was going to do. Let's do this. Let's do an if statement. Let's restrict this to if the month now is equal to 4 and the day of now is equal to 1, then end if. So what does that say?
So that he has that those numbers, the main portion, then it's gonna.
Yeah, what day is this in the calendar year? April Fools. Nice. So this says only run this on April Fools, right? Does that mean? So is it going to run right now?
No, because it's the other line is up.
That's right. So it's not gonna run. So every time I'm moving my mouse on top of this button, it's running that code, right? It's checking what's the date, 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 and it's not gonna move. Okay, great. Isn't that interesting? I think that's kind of interesting. Is that too nerdy? Who said that was too nerdy?
It's a fun prank. I love it. I think, why would that need to exist there?
I don't know.
Why would you leave it there?
I mean, I get it, but I'm trying to think in the minds of someone who was programming Excel and VBA to do that, like, why would you have a command? It's just for-
Just for the fun of it.
so it's just for fun.
Just it could be, it could be security. I mean, maybe you add a keystroke, press down, and move the mouse at the same time over it, so that you can only save it if you know the keystrokes or something like that. I mean, that'd be kind of really nerdy, but cool, right? Cool.
Someone just-
Totally cool. Okay, but when we load this form, what we haven't seen yet is we haven't seen any data from the spreadsheet. So one of the things we need to do is we need to start linking some data. Let's see if we can start to pull in some of the data from the spreadsheet. And so what we'll do is we'll go back to the form and I'm going to double click on the form and it's going to take me to user form click. And I don't really need that one actually. Now I think about it. I'm just going to erase that. What we really need to do is we need the user form on the top left menu. Every time that user form is initialized, so we'll come over here to the activity or the event. So on the right side, we'll click down on the events. On the left, we're looking at the user form. And what we're trying to do is we're saying every time the user form initializes, every time it turns on, we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to load the data from the spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on user form and initialize. It's going to create a new sub for me down here. And I could just type this in, but that just is a speedy way to do it. Of this one, initialize is when the user form opens up. That's like initializing. when we first open it up, boom, initialize. That's what this, it's going to run this code, whatever we put in here at that time when it initializes. One of the first things we'll do is we'll create this row variable. And let's go ahead and assign the row variable to the active cell dot row. In fact, probably what we need to do is create that variable, right? Let's come up to the top here and let's create a module level row variable. Why module level? Why do we want to create this all the way up here? Because we probably want to use this variable. Let's see, sorry, dim, I forgot my dim. Dim row as long. We probably want to use this variable row in multiple subs, multiple procedures. So the benefit of creating this variable at the module level is that it will be available to all of these different procedures. So here's where we'll actually define this row, which means whichever cell our cursor is on when we run the form, that's the row that's going to be pulled into this form. Next, let's also create another sub procedure, and we will call this show data. Okay, what we'll do is we'll create a new sub called show data, and this is where we'll go through and put up all the data into this form. So I'll just leave that at that. We're going to call show data. I'm going to come all the way back up to the top here, create a new sub, show data. So what I did was, here's my user form initialize, right? I set the row to the active cell row, whichever row my cell is in, my cursor's in, whichever row is selected. And then I'm calling another sub, show data. The show data one, I just created this manually up at the very top. You could put it anywhere, it doesn't have to be the top. And here is where we're going to initialize, we're going to pull some of this data. So for example, let's call the label ID. So if you remember, the label ID was named let's see, it's a D, LBL ID. Remember that name? Another way we can figure that out is if we type in the me and a dot and start to type in an object name, it comes up in the IntelliSense, which is pretty cool. So we can do either with the me dot or without the me dot. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn the caption and we're going to put data from the spreadsheet into the caption form. So which spreadsheet has our data? So here's the products tab. The products tab, the code name for that sheet is called data. So we'll use data dot. We'll reference cells. What's our row index here? Close. Row. Because we defined that variable down here, right? We've just defined that row variable. We know what that row number is. So we can show data already knows what that row is. So we'll define that row there. And the column, which column are we talking about? For product ID, we're talking about that first column. So that column is going to be 1, and we're going to do dot value. What that's going to do is that's going to pull the value of that row and column. We're looking at the product ID column, whichever row we're on. Right now I'm on row 8, so it would pull in 319 into the label that we created on our user form. Let's do another label for the text box. So I can do text name. And in this case, it's going to be the dot text option is where we want that data to fill the text box. We're going to use a similar format for this one. We'll do cells. We'll do row, but this time it's going to be column 6 because column 6 is the name column. So we're going to pull in the name right there. Okay, so those are some of the basics of user forms, right? We haven't, so let's run this and see what this says first. Let me go back to the form. There it is. So I've pulled in 319. It pulled that from the spreadsheet based on my active cell. and it pulled in the name right there, which is Injection Molded Cutback Canada Advantage and a Half Wetlands. What is this anyway? This is a duck calls. Brandon, can you help me out?
But you think I've been.
It sounded like you had some authority. I mean, you were the first one to comment, so maybe I assume.
Okay, I've actually never been hunting. It says injection molds. No one's ever.
Injection molded. But that's the name. So if I change this name, can I change this Brandon's Good Luck Duck Call? If I click on save, what's going to happen here? Brandon, I'm sorry that I don't give extra credit because I would say if you can make your save button quack, I would give you extra credit. Close. But the quack.
Maybe there's somebody you can use AI.
I'm sure there's a way to do it. If I click on save, does it change the name? No, it doesn't. It's not a good enough name. But let's check that. Let's do a neighbor check. Show your neighbor that you can run the form and you can pull in the product ID and the name wherever your cursor is at, right? What's that? Oh, yeah, sure. Let me do this. Here was the initialize code. Up here is the show data code. Good question. What is this right here? Is that what you're asking? That is going to be this label right here. So that's the name that we put on this label. It's not the text box. It's not the buttons. It's actually the label for the product ID. What does it say?
First I thought I just spelled it, but.
Did you type in the me dot to make sure it's the right name?
Yeah, me dot. ID.
Go, yeah, check your label name. Is it the same name? Which line is your cursor on? Do you have an active cell? Oh yeah, there's no dot. Yeah. Can't quite see it from there. Oh, yeah, rows. I think you have an extra S there. Call it row. User form underscore initialize, that one? What do you got?
I don't know. That's the problem. It's the exact same thing.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Are you positive?
Never mind. I'm gonna
Data
keep the
cells
joke to
rules.
myself, but
Is it underscore ID or
no, that's what I have. It is the name of it.
IBL is your name or is it LBL? It wasn't the same. You might have to.
Change it.
Yeah, you could just change. Yeah, you could just rename your label. Okay, now we're going to make another trick here. How do we save this change? How do we save it into the spreadsheet? We're going to come down to the command save click sub, right? Right when we click on sub, we're going to run some code. And guess what the code is that we're going to run? We're going to take the me.txt name.text and we're going to put it somewhere. Where are we going to put it? We're going to put it back into the spreadsheet. So we're going to do equals this. It's going to be data.cells, open parentheses, row, comma 6 dot value equals the text in that form. Does that make sense? Notice that's the opposite of this. We're just flipping this around in our save click sub. That's how we're going to save that data from the form back to Excel. It's going to change the name.
To Brandon's.
Brandon's favorite duck call. Duck quack. Let's do it. Ready? Brandon's fave. Duck quack. Save. There it is. You're in, my friend. You are in.
Change it.
So yeah, notice it's hopefully it's in the right save click. So save click is the event sub, and we're going to take whatever's in that form and we're going to put it into that spreadsheet, exact same place, right? Which is just the reverse of this cell, which is we're pulling from the spreadsheet to the form. Here we're going from the form to the spreadsheet. How do we undo the label change? What do you mean undo? What's wrong with that? Oh, no, you're good. I kind of like that name. Brandon's okay with that? I mean, we could put injected molding, Brandon's favorite, if you want to do that. Beautiful. Okay, great. So let's add another information item here. Let's add category. So if I'm on the form, let's see, is that what I want to add next? Yes, let's add the category. For this one, let's do a combo box. So if I pull up my toolbox option here, let's do a combo box. This is like a drop-down option. Here's the combo box in the toolbox. I can just drag and click that. I don't know where to put it. Let's put it right there. Let's spread it out here. It doesn't look like it's too wide of a field. I mean, we could check this. Maybe it gets a little bit wide.
I have a question.
Question.
Was the dub call thing that we inputted, was that supposed to replace one of the things?
That's right.
Okay, cool.
Is that what it did? Okay, good. Yep. So we were pulling that, and this code overwrote whatever was there.
Okay.
Just overwrote it. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, the form. So we've added this category combo Dropbox. Let's go ahead and rename this before I forget. The prefix, the common prefix here is CBO. And I'm going to call this category. CBO category is the name. Let's go ahead and add another label. So I'll click on the form again to pull up my toolbox. You can also click up here on the skull bones. What do you call it? Crossbones. And drag another label in here. This label is going to be, what do I want this label to say? I'm just going to put this as a label so that the user knows what this field is. Does that make sense? Um, is that what I want? Yeah. Let's change the background style, the back style to transparent, and let's rename the caption to category. So we have our category here as a label for the drop down. We have our combo box. So what do we need to do? We need to go pull the data from the spreadsheet to fill this combo box. Where do we do that? We can come back to our code, and we're going to go back to the initialize. Actually, the initialize calls the show data. So we'll go to the show data sub, back up here. This sub, basically, we're pulling from the spreadsheet into the form. So we'll do the same thing here for the combo box, right? CBO category dot text is equal to data dot cells row comma column 2 dot value. And what do we need to do to save it? Well, we can do this same row after, and if we've changed it, we can come down here to the save click, and we're just going to reverse this, right? We're going to pull this to the front. We're going to paste this here. We're saying whatever's in the form, I want you to put that back into the spreadsheet. And that's under our save click event. So up here in our show data, we have our spreadsheet to the form. It's pulling that into the form. Under the save click, we have from the form to the spreadsheet. Okay, so now if we run this guy, we should have a category, and we should see the category for 319. So let's double check here. Where's 319? It's way up at the top. Here's 319. Category is duck acrylic. That's it. We have it. Now, wait a minute. When I click on this drop-down box, nothing there.
Without even giving you the option.
There's only one category for Brandon's favorite. I'm okay with that. But what if we click on something that's not Brandon's favorite, right? If we click on a different row and we run this, we should see different name. In this case, has the same category. But what we need to do is write some code to pull in all of those options so that we could change the category if we wanted to. And so let's go back to the code. In this case, we're going to go back to the show data sub, and we're going to build some code to fill our combo box. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a loop. So let's go ahead and create a variable x as kind of a loop counter. We'll start that x off at 2. And we're going to use some code that says, let's do a do loop. Do until lists dot cells. Now, what's list dot cells? If you notice over here, we have a second sheet. And this second sheet has a list of all the categories already created. So we're going to use this column in this sheet to help us fill this combo box. So that's what this lists is referring to. This lists dot cells is referring to the lists spreadsheet. Which cells are we going to do? Well, we're going to do row X. We're going to start on row 2 because of the header. And what column are we looking at? Let me come back to the sheet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So column 6 is going to be the column. And we're going to take the value of that. Do that until the value equals blank. Does that make sense? It's been a little while since we did a do loop, not too long. So I'm going to do a do until the value in that column is blank. We're just going to go all the way down this column until it's blank. That's what this is saying. We're going to add a do events in there. What does do events do? Yeah, exactly. Very good. The do events stops it momentarily and says, do you need me for anything before I keep going? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So if we accidentally get into a forever loop, the do events allows us to pause it and get out of it if we need to. So it's a good recovery. And then we're going to add it. So the way we add this is we're going to say CBO category. That's the object in the form. We're going to add an item. What item are we going to add? Lists dot cells, open parentheses, x comma 6 dot value. And then we're going to increment the x. So again, what we've done is we've created a loop for the whole entire column 6 on sheet lists. That's all we've done there. Now we're going to add the item, each item, into that category. And we're going to increment x, and we're going to keep going. Right here, just a space. Yep. Just the space. Okay, so now when we run this, we should see, look at that, a list of categories. Not bad. Look at that. Not terrible. How we doing? All right. Let's see. What's next? Should we do department? You want to talk to your neighbor? Okay, let's do our neighbor and then we'll finish that. That'd be great. Let's check your neighbor, show your neighbor. Do you want me? You're still LBLID dot caption equals data cells row 1 value. Try lowercase d on the data.
Well, here's the thing, it automatically capitalizes it when it changes it.
Oh, scroll up here. Does it have data in your objects right there? In your objects folder? Oh wait, you're doing it in your homework. That folder, the top of the plus right there.
Oh,
Sorry, my bad. Go up one more. Yeah, double click that one. Oh yeah, so you don't have a data sheet. So you're writing code in a different workbook that doesn't have a data sheet in it.
how did I do that?
Well, you can. Looks like you have multiple Excel. See, there's your data in that one. You just multiple files open.
Oh, because I think I have the homework open.
Right, you're
This is
writing
the
this code in the homework that doesn't have the data sheet.
Okay.
But that's easy. It's a simple copy and paste.
Yeah, I need a nap. Does that mean my this is in the wrong thing too?
Yes.
Can I move that?
Yeah, you can. Can you click
Drag
and
it.
drag it? You might be able to. I think you have to go. Oh, yeah. Check your forms. Look at you.
Okay.
Look at you. Sure.
Yeah. Issues.
Yeah.
So when I do it now, I just have a runtime error.
Object doesn't support this property or method. 438.
Yeah.
Doesn't give you a.
The other thing that I was running into is I don't think my save button is correct. Is working correctly.
Okay. Let's look at that. Oh, and yours. Let's see. Is it CMB or CMD? Oh yeah, it's CMD. Try that. That might have been the problem.
So that's still not working. There's everything besides the save button is working fine until here.
The next two.
I just checked it on because as far as I can see, it's correct.
So it was working before you did all this?
Yeah, I think so.
Show data, label caption data, text name text, CBO text, dim is X, do and tell. Are you? Oh, interesting. Me, CBO category, add item list.
Yeah, I mean, so there's this was working.
Yep, that works. X plus 1. Do events loop. Click inside this sub somewhere. Yeah, right there. Click there and then run that. That doesn't work. Same error. Okay, object doesn't support this property or method. Okay, it's probably somewhere else. Let's see. Unload me. Command click. Command save. This worked, right? Command save. Click. Data cells row value. What's the X CBO?
Mistype.
Okay, let's keep going. Comma box. User for initial rows. Actual row. Show data. And then scroll back up. Show data. Yeah, that looks right. Was the label working before? Was these two working before? CBO category. Let's go to your form. Pull up your form real fast. Double click on your, yeah, that one right there. And then click on your label. Yeah, click on your combo.
This was working.
Great. And then you're in
This
that one.
works.
CBO category. Okay. Yeah, that all looks right. Let's see. Set up some information and save. Yeah, click on your cancel.
Is default supposed to be first?
Yeah, but that shouldn't stop it from running. But that's okay. You have the default is true, but that shouldn't make. Yeah, that's right. Okay, double click on your form again. Let's go back to the code.
I did save them.
What else am I missing here? So you've got user form initialize row active cell show data. Okay, then go back to the show data. Should immediate label to ID caption equals data that cells row one value. See if you can put a stop right before the right above the dim, like the line above that. Just type in stop right above it and run it and see if you can get to that point. Okay, so that works. So it's probably something down here. Do until lists dot cells dot value equals blank. Read up dot add item. Push F8. See if you can go down the next line. Oh, is that the problem?
No,
I think so. Let's go.
Hey, nice catch. Nice. Alan?
It was working, but I don't know what I did.
Jared broke it probably.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
did, probably.
It's always same method.
Oh, you got double two L's?
It was like that.
Oh,
Uh,
on purpose? Are those
yeah.
L's or I's? Oh yeah, list should be S because you got lists.
What?
You should have an S at the end of that
Oh,
to match the list's name right there.
it was also showing a problem here. I don't know why.
Overflow. That might be your loop. How's your
Probably also did not work.
overflow? Do until this value. There you go. No, that's right on.
Stuff that gives
What
you
would be the
everything.
overflow?
Yeah.
Scroll back
I planned
down.
my entire peaking schedule. was,
Unload. Okay, keep going.
just
Data
now
cells
at the end of
around
it, right?
me. Text name. Text.
At my-
That looks good. Maybe
pretty much
scroll
got
down. Is there anything
Then
else?
I'll here too or
I
no?
got sick for the past year.
No, you don't.
So
No,
that
that's
kind of
shouldn't have to do that.
But
And did the mouse move thing work?
Yeah, it was working, but then
peaking's kind of a long
it-
process.
you just give me an error.
Oh, really?
Planned it
And
out.
was it this a comment or
You
not?
can do it in like 4 weeks.
That was commented. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So command save that with
like
command save
6
that with -2.
But I'm not gonna peak for the next like 3 years.
I'm not seeing
I'm
it.
just gonna pay
Go back to your
penalty on,
form.
like, the
Open up your form.
weights for the next 3 years until I can hit a national total.
And let's see. Click on that one. Yeah. CBO category. That's right. Click on the text
Yeah,
one.
probably not
Text one.
going to
The
compete for
yeah, that one.
3 years.
Text name. That looks good too. Click on the cancel and the save. Cancel. Command cancel. Command save. That looks good.
Fund action. Yeah.
Oh, do you have an L instead of an I there? So that does have
LBL ID.
capital I. Let's check that name. Go back to that code. Double click the form or to the code. Yeah. Okay, and then scroll back up to the show data.
Well, they don't go by middle.
Show data.
Yeah, scroll back up to the top. There you go.
They go by
So
number, you-
write that again.
So I would
Do
This?
come up to above that line. Yeah, yeah.
75.
try
those
to,
are
yeah,
heavier
exactly.
weights.
Me dot,
Yeah, that's
do me dot, and then when you hit the dot, it should
two
come up,
42, you're gonna
and
be,
then tab, or select
you
that
have to
one,
get
yeah.
up there. You have to be like mostly
Dot
comfortable with
caption,
that.
see if that makes a difference.
That's probably where I'd be competing, like,
No, it's not it either.
it's like, you know,
There's an overflow. Oh, what would be the overflow? Usually that means you're filling something that there's not enough room to fill it.
it's natty.
Did you define row at the very, very top? Row is long, yeah, that's it. Alan, that looks really good. I don't see any.
Thank you, I guess.
Can Jared find it?
Did I find what?
Did you find the problem here, Jared?
Um,
Command, save, click, data cells, row, me.
But if
Thanks.
the national qualifying total is 1750 for my. for
Yeah,
the
that's weird.
242 weight
We can
class.
check some more after class. That work? Okay, let's do one more thing here. Ready? Let's add one more element, which is the department button. By the way, there was an assignment that was due today. I pushed that out to Friday. The user form assignment. So if you're already done, you're good to go. But I feel like today and Wednesday's class are going to help you with the user form assignment. You may be able to do most of it after today. There's probably parts of it that you could try to figure out, or we can have more questions on Wednesday. Sound good? I just wanted to give you some more time before that was due, please.
There is an assignment that's today, though. Is that one that is?
That's what I moved out. Yep. Yep. Okay, great. So let's go back to our form. Let's do department. So if we go back to our product lists, department here is here. On the lists, there are 4 departments: hunting, outdoor, general, and apparel. And what we'll do here for this in the form, how do we want to represent this? Let's do the option buttons. And this may not be the best way to do it, but I want to get some experience using the option buttons. So in other words, you could do another Dropbox for the department, but I want to use the buttons here for a minute, just so we have some practice with that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this frame. There's a frame in the toolbox, and what that does is that puts a frame around our options. Basically, in this case, it's going to be our departments, right? So the way I have this frame imported here to the form, I'm going to come down to caption. I'm going to rename this to department, and that's going to change the name of this frame. Within this frame, I'm going to add an option button, and I'm going to add 4 of them. And so if I'm clicked on the department element, I have to click back on the form to get my toolbox to show up. And I'm going to click and drag option 1. Here's an option 1 button. I'm going to rename this to OPT hunting is the code name. I'm going to change the caption to just hunting. And then I can just copy this, or I can drag some others if I wanted to. I can just copy and paste it. So the second one, here's a third one. These are option buttons, that's right. Here's a 4th one. The first one's correct. The second one, I'm going to rename this to be OPT outdoor. And I'm going to put the caption here is outdoor. The third option is OPT apparel. And the caption is going to be apparel. That's it. That's exactly right. I'm changing the name to OPT as the prefix with the name, and I'm changing the caption to just the other one. I did. That's in the frame. So if you click on the frame and do caption there, you can change the caption there. I'll show you in just a second. So here's my option general as the code name. If I click on the frame itself, it's still frame 1 up here, but I have changed the caption to department right there. And I can shrink the frame down a little bit if I wanted to resize it. But what I've done is all four of these options are now connected. It's important to note that you have to do the frame first before you do the option button. So if you started dragging option buttons onto the form without the frame or outside of the frame, then those are not going to be connected. You have to kind of start over with those option buttons. No. Command button's a little bit different. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the best way to use an option button is like a yes or no or an either or. So I wouldn't say this is the best way to use the option button, but it gives us a chance to, it gives us some practice here on this form. Okay, so now we have the form built out. What we need to do is add our data from the spreadsheet to the form and then save it back to the spreadsheet. So what we can do is we'll go back into the code, and under our show data, this is our sub that we're kind of pulling from the spreadsheet into the form. Let's create a select case option. Select case data.cells. Row is going to be the row variable. Column is going to be 3. Why is 3? Because 3 is our department column. And we're going to create some select statements here. So I'll do an end select, and then we'll create some case. In the case of hunting, and we'll do a colon. So in the case that this value in the spreadsheet is equal to hunting, then what I want to do is I want to create the hunting opt hunting dot value equal to true. I want to say, okay, that is the option that I want selected. And that's how we do that in the code. If the case is outdoor, then I want to say the outdoor value is true. If the case is apparel, then I want the opt apparel value to be true. If the case is general, then I want the opt general value to be true. That's right. So what colon is doing is it's compacting the code a little bit. It's allowing me to finish the case statement on one line. That's what that colon is, which is pretty cool. Otherwise, I would just have to put it on the next line. It's just compacting the code a little bit. To be really good in coding, I should probably do an else statement here. And I could inform the user that, hey, invalid department. We don't have a department called that. What that does is that, and we're just going to set it to general. It communicates, if there's for some other reason, you know, the departments get changed or something like that, we're just going to put in here that's something that says, hey, we're going to give them a message, and we're going to change the opt general value equal to true. Okay, so we've added a select case to pull from the spreadsheet and put it into the form. So if we run this now, oh, sorry, wrong one. I gotta select a row. Where's my Brandon's one? I think it was this one. Select a row, run this sheet. We should see the product ID. We should see the name, Brandon's favorite. We have the categories set up. And then we have the departments. So if I click another department, it's only going to allow me to select one of these options. But if I click on save, we haven't yet connected the saving of the department back to the spreadsheet. So we haven't actually changed the category yet. So let's do that. Am I out of time? We got a few more minutes. How do we do that? We're going to go back to the command save sub. Where's my command save on the click? Here it is. This is where we're going to save the data back to the spreadsheet. And we're just going to do a long if statement for this one. Nothing too glamorous. Unfortunately, we're just going to do pretty kind of raw power this one in. If the opt hunting value is true, then we're going to do something. By the way, notice this opt hunting value is going to evaluate as a Boolean value. It's going to be true or false itself. So we don't actually need to say equals true, right? We can actually remove that from the code. This statement by itself is going to evaluate to a true or false statement. So if that is true, what are we going to do? We're going to go to data cells, row, column, three. Very good. Column 3 is our department column. We're talking about the products sheet, which is the data sheet. Column 3, we're going to change that value to what? Hunting. Else if opt outdoor dot value, then I misspelled my then. Else if opt outdoor dot value is true, then data cells row comma 3 dot value is equal to outdoor. Else if opt apparel dot value is true, then data cells row comma 3 dot value is equal to apparel. Else opt general dot actually we don't even do that because that's the only other option. We're just going to do else data dot cells row comma 3 dot value equals general. Let me remind my closing parentheses here. Oh, interesting. There we go. Okay, so we've created an if statement that allows for whichever the value is of those option buttons, it's going to pull that value back into the spreadsheet. And that's actually right where it's a good place to end, actually, really good. So if I come back up here, if I run the form, now we have Brandon's favorite duck quack, duck acrylic category. I can change the category here. I can change the department, and I can save this, and it's going to go back and it's changed the category and department for Brandon's favorite duck quack. Way to go. Good job. That was a lot of VBA. Way to go. Message box, you bet. What was that? Something just beeped at me. We changed your duck call, buddy. No.
That really I filled out as soon as I leave.
It was our chance. We had to take it. Okay, great. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Class dismissed. We'll do some more user forms with this guy, and we'll review some homework questions that you have. And then on Monday, we'll do some rats. The last rats. Scroll up, sure.
Sorry.
Here's the show data.
There should have been-